Hello, welcome back to our channel, where we explore the deepest and most terrifying mysteries of the world. Today, we have content that will chill even the bravest of souls. Let's dive into real and supernatural stories full of mysteries from Willow'S, Indiana's most haunted house. These are accounts of sinister shadows, evil presences, and reports of spirits that reside there, along with paranormal encounters that defy all logical explanations. Prepare to hear stories that will stir your mind and heart. From visions of spectral figures to frightening premonitions, these episodes will leave you questioning everything you think you know about life and death. If you dare, watch these stories that will make you think about what exists on the other side. Watch and draw your own conclusions. Warning: these stories are real and reported by paranormal investigators. They may disturb sensitive minds. They were sent in by viewers. If you have a story to share, send it to us below. Willow'S, the house that harbors the darkest whispers and secrets of Indiana, was built in 1890 by Joseph Willow, a steel magnate who decided to erect a grand Victorian home for his beloved wife, Eliza. The property was vast, surrounded by ancient trees that, according to rumors, whispered among themselves when the wind blew strong. But it was the intense love between Joseph and Eliza that sealed the tragic fate of this house. Shortly after moving in, Eliza, pregnant with the couple's first child, began suffering from terrible, inexplicable visions. She reported seeing shadows moving through the rooms and heard voices whispering her name in the middle of the night. Tragically, Eliza died during childbirth in one of the tower rooms of the house. Consumed by grief, Joseph was never the same, and it is said that he threw himself from the top of Willow'S tower, falling onto the garden stones. Since then, the house has changed hands many times, but no one has been able to live there for long. The horror stories surrounding Willow'S are so numerous that it's hard to separate truth from legend, but some stand out and continue to be told to this day. We will cover various stories from Willow'S. Choose the one you like most, as they are all hair-raising. The Phantom Pianist. In the 1940s, a family tried to renovate the house and bring new life to it. During the renovation, the father brought an old piano into the music room, hoping to create a cheerful atmosphere. However, at night, they began to hear music being played, even when no one was near the instrument. The melodies were melancholic and always ended with a dissonant note. Eventually, the family left the house, unable to bear the constant nocturnal serenades that seemed to mourn something lost. Amid the intertwining shadows of the small town of Ravenwood stands the old mansion known as Willow'S. Its walls, worn by time, conceal stories from the past, but none as striking and terrible as that of Eliza Montgomery, later known as the Lady of the Tower. Her spectral presence is a constant reminder of tragic love and the curse that seems to entangle the house and its inhabitants. The marriage and the misfortune. Eliza, the only daughter of a prominent family from Ravenwood, married young to Edward Willow, a man whose charm was only rivaled by his dark fortune. The marriage was arranged to consolidate wealth, but Eliza harbored hopes of genuine affection. Edward, however, possessed dark secrets and a cold heart. The young couple moved into Willow'S shortly after their marriage, and it was there that the happiness Eliza had hoped for began to crumble. As a wedding gift, Edward completed the construction of a tower in the mansion, promising Eliza a private sanctuary where she could lose herself in her books and thoughts. Initially, the tower seemed like a sanctuary, offering Eliza stunning views of the horizon and the vastness of the sky. However, as Edward's isolation grew and his true nature came to light, the tower became less a refuge and more a prison. On a rainy night, while Edward was away on dark business, Eliza discovered a series of letters hidden in a secret compartment of his office. The letters revealed a web of betrayals, including nefarious pacts and dark rituals Edward had performed in exchange for power and wealth. Horrified by the revelations and fearing for her own soul, Eliza confronted Edward upon his return. The ensuing argument was as stormy as the night outside. Enraged by her discovery and fearing she would expose his secrets, Edward locked Eliza in the tower. As the storm raged, Eliza, desperate and fearing for her life, climbed to the highest point of the tower. It is said she intended to signal for help, but overwhelmed by despair and betrayal, she threw herself from the parapet to the rocks below. Since that fateful night, Eliza's figure has been seen at the top of the tower during storms. Her appearance is always preceded by a chill in the air and a drop in temperature, as if nature itself mourned her tragic end. Local residents and visitors who have seen her report feeling a profound and inexplicable sadness, accompanied by almost inaudible whispers of the wind, which seem to form words of warning or lament. The story of the Lady of the Tower continues to be a topic of fascination and fear among the inhabitants of Ravenwood. Some believe Eliza remains in the tower, waiting for justice or perhaps trying to prevent others from a similar fate. Others whisper that she seeks Edward, still bound to him by spiritual ties, in an eternal quest for redemption or vengeance. The truth about the Lady of the Tower is as murky and varied as the storms that often envelop Willow's Weep, leaving all who know the story with a palpable sense of psychological terror and compassion for a soul that may never find peace. The Whispering Room, as it has been nicknamed by locals, is one of the most feared locations within Willow's Weep. Situated in the northeast corner of the house, the room is accessed through a long series of winding corridors, each step on its creaking boards seeming to echo through the entire structure. It is here that Eliza Willow spent her last agonizing days, and many believe it to be the heart of the house's paranormal activities. Inside this room, the air is inexplicably colder than in the rest of the house, a chill that seeps into the bones, leaving a sense of lasting discomfort. The walls, once painted a soft shade of blue, are now peeled and stained, with large areas showing the dark gray of mold that has settled over the years. There is a single window that, on rare occasions, allows a beam of light to illuminate the room, revealing dust particles that float in the air like tiny ghosts. The furniture is sparse and as deteriorated as the house itself. An old wooden crib still stands there, its mattress long since rotted away, along with a rocking chair that, according to reports, sometimes moves on its own, rocking gently as if someone invisible still tried to soothe a baby long gone. But the most disturbing aspect of the Whispering Room are the sounds. Visitors and paranormal investigators who have entered the room report hearing almost inaudible whispers, like hissed conversations that seem to emanate from the walls themselves. Some people claim the whispers are clear enough to understand isolated words like leave, pain, and do not forget. Others say the whispers are accompanied by sobs, the sound of muffled crying, as if someone were lamenting an immense and eternal sadness. During a nighttime investigation, a group of ghost hunters recorded an EVP, electronic voice phenomena, session in the room. During the session, the equipment captured a female voice repeatedly saying, "He is coming," followed by a sharp scream that made even the most seasoned investigators recoil in terror. The recording was so clear and disturbing that 2 team members refused to stay in the house after the incident. On another occasion, a woman who entered the room during the day reported feeling a cold hand touch her spine, accompanied by a whisper directly in her ear that said, "Stay with me." Terrified, she fled the room, vowing never to return to Willow's Weep. For those who dare to visit the Whispering Room, it is almost guaranteed that they will leave changed. The room not only retains the echoes of Eliza's tragic past but seems to be an active portal to something indescribably dark, an entity or energy that does not want to be forgotten and may never allow the house to find peace. A chilling place within the house is the place where the atmosphere is very heavy, even suffocating. The Weeping Gardens of Willow's Weep are an extension of the enigmatic and disturbing aura of the house itself. Surrounding the property, these gardens were once the pride of Joseph Willow, meticulously maintained with a variety of rare flowers and carefully pruned bushes. However, following the tragic deaths of Joseph and Eliza, the gardens were left to fend for themselves, transforming into a wild and disordered labyrinth where vines engulf stone statues and wild rose bushes advance untamed, with thorns waiting to ensnare the unwary. The atmosphere in the gardens is inexplicably heavy, a veil of melancholy that deepens at dusk. Even during the day, little sunlight penetrates the tangle of tall trees, creating a perpetual twilight that barely illuminates the winding paths. Locals and visitors often report an overwhelming sense of sadness as they walk these paths, as if the place were imbued with a perpetual and invisible mourning. The most intriguing and chilling phenomenon reported occurs on full moon nights, particularly on the anniversaries of Eliza and Joseph's deaths. On these days, visitors report hearing the sound of water droplets falling, as if the dew were crying for the lost souls of the former owners. But what truly disturbs those who dare to wander the gardens after dark is not just the sound, but the sight that accompanies it. Some of the old angel and cherub statues scattered throughout the garden, already half covered by the overgrowth of vegetation, appear to cry real tears. A thin trail of moisture can often be seen trickling from the stone eyes, shimmering under the moonlight as if the sculptures themselves were mourning past tragedies. No scientist or investigator has been able to properly explain this phenomenon, as weather conditions do not justify specific condensation at these points. In addition to the tears, there are whispers that seem to float on the wind, so light that one might think they are just the leaves rustling. However, some claim they can distinguish words and phrases among the whispers. Phrases like, "Don't leave," the "Why did you go?" and a "Come back" are repeated, intertwined with the sound of crying. These whispers enhance the sensation that the gardens are alive, aware, and suffering. As night falls, a thin and unexplainable mist often settles over the gardens, obscuring the path and distorting shapes. Unexplained lights sometimes flicker among the trees, and indistinct figures are seen moving on the periphery of vision, disappearing when looked at directly. Photographs taken during these conditions often return with unexplained orbs or mists, leaving an air of mystery and a feeling of not being alone. The Weeping Gardens remain one of the most mysterious and frightening aspects of Willow's Weep. The stories of these gardens persist, both as a warning to the brave and as an invitation to the curious, challenging reality and sparking the imagination with the possibility that, perhaps, love and loss can transcend death itself. In the 2000s, Willow's Weep began to attract more than just local curiosity. Ghost hunters and paranormal investigation teams from across the country came to try to unravel the mysteries of the house. Each group that entered brought with them a collection of equipment and a fervent hope of contact with the beyond. Despite their advanced technologies, many left more frightened and confused than when they entered. The Shadow Watchers are one of the most terrifying and mysterious manifestations at Willow's Weep, a phenomenon that has become almost legendary among ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts. The story of these apparitions dates back to a particularly dark night in 2005, when a group of paranormal investigators decided to spend the night in the house to capture evidence of supernatural activity. What they found exceeded all expectations and left even the most skeptical doubting what truly dwelled within those ancient walls. It was a moonless night, and heavy clouds covered the stars, plunging the house and gardens into near-complete darkness. The group arrived equipped with night vision video cameras, voice recorders, and EMF meters, ready to document any inexplicable phenomena. As they set up their equipment, a sense of unrest began to grow among them, each sound and movement captured increasing the tension in the air. It all started in the kitchen, one of the most active sites in the house. The investigators were setting up their equipment when a quick, indistinct shadow passed by the window, briefly obscuring the little street light that filtered through the broken glass. Initially, they thought it might be an animal or a trick of the light, but then the equipment began to fail. The cameras turned off, the recorders stopped working, and the EMF meters spiked before dropping to zero. As they tried to restore their equipment's function, an icy chill filled the room. One of the investigators, looking down the hallway leading to the living room, saw what appeared to be several shadowy figures huddled at the threshold of the door. These figures were distinctly humanoid, but their edges were blurred, as if made of smoke or mist. They made no sound and did not move naturally, but floated slightly above the ground, their heads turned toward the group. One of the team members, trying to be rational, approached the figures with a handheld camera, attempting to get a clearer image. As he neared, the temperature dropped even further, and a sense of despair overwhelmed him. When he was just a few steps away, the figures dissipated like smoke in the wind, but not before one of them moved swiftly towards him, passing directly through his body. He screamed, thrown back with an inexplicable force, and when the others rushed to help him, they found him pale and trembling, unable to speak for several minutes. After that night, accounts of the Shadow Watchers became a staple in the stories of Willow's Weep. Other groups have tried to capture images of these figures, but few have succeeded, and none as clearly as on that night. Those who glimpse these shadows report a feeling of profound sadness and fear, as if the figures themselves carried the essence of the house's tragedies. The Shadow Watchers of Willow's Weep continue to be a mystery to both ghost hunters and skeptics. Are they guardians of a dark secret, tormented souls bound to the earth, or something more sinister? The truth remains hidden in the shadows of the house, waiting for those brave, or perhaps foolish, enough to seek answers. The Whispering Hallway, a particularly disturbing phenomenon reported by several visitors, is the Whispering Hallway. This long corridor on the second floor of the house seems to be always slightly colder than the rest of the building. Those who venture through it speak of hearing indistinct whispers and footsteps following them, even when they are completely alone. One visitor claimed she felt a cold hand touch her shoulder as she walked down the hallway, but when she turned around, there was no one behind her. Audio recordings often capture low voices that seem to plead for help or ask visitors to leave. In the summer of 1998, a group of experienced paranormal investigators was drawn to Willow'S by the house's infamous reputation. Among them was Elena, a historian with a deep interest in supernatural phenomena and an expert in deciphering ancient writings. The team, armed with the latest spirit detection equipment, intended to spend a week in the house, exploring every corner in search of concrete evidence of the reported paranormal activity. The encounter with the diary. It was the third day of investigation when Elena decided to focus on the master bedroom, the very room where Eliza Willow had met her tragic end. While the other team members were busy downstairs, Elena was alone, slowly moving the metal detector over the decayed wooden floor. It was then that the device emitted a long, sharp beep, indicating the presence of metal beneath the old, creaking boards. With the aid of a small lever, Elena carefully removed the board, revealing a small hollow space. Inside, covered by layers of dust and cobwebs, lay a worn leather diary with the name Eliza M. Willow engraved on the faded cover. Her heart pounded with the possibility that this diary could offer insights into the tragic history of the house and its alleged hauntings. The secrets revealed. Back in the safety of a lit area, Elena began to leaf through the diary. The handwriting was elegant, but the initial pages showed a woman full of hope and love for the new life she was building at Willow'S. However, as the dates progressed, the tone of the entries changed drastically. Eliza wrote about visions of dark shadows moving through the corridors at night and unintelligible whispers coming from the walls. She spoke of her growing fear and paranoia, of feeling constantly watched, even when alone. The last entries were frantic and nearly illegible. Eliza described an overwhelming presence that smothered her at night, pressing on her chest until she struggled to breathe. She mentioned the eyes that never blink, watching her from the dark corner of her room, and a tall, shadowy figure at the doorway of her bedroom every night. The final entry, dated just 2 days before her death, ended with a chilling and incomplete sentence: "He is coming for me, and I cannot escape." The discovery of Eliza's diary raised more questions than answers. Elena and her team tried unsuccessfully to locate any physical evidence of the eyes that never blink or the shadowy figure mentioned in the diary. Despite several EVP sessions and nights spent on vigil, no significant contact was made, and the shadows remained silent and invisible. The diary was taken for analysis and preservation, but many of the mysteries it contained remained unsolved. Historians and paranormal experts attempted to decipher Eliza's more obscure references, questioning whether her visions could be the result of a mental disorder or if, indeed, there was something supernatural at Willow'S that still haunted its corridors. The story of Eliza Willow's hidden diary became a legend among ghost hunters, often cited as evidence of the true haunting of Willow'S. For visitors and investigators who continue to frequent the house, the diary is a grim reminder that not all the house's mysteries have been revealed, and that the shadows that haunted Eliza may still be lurking in the dark corners of the house. The pages of the diary, now yellowed and fragile, are like a portal to a time of terror and despair, holding secrets that may never be fully understood. Willow'S continues to be an enveloping mystery and a staple of local horror stories. The truth about what really happens inside the house may never be fully understood, and perhaps that is for the best. As time passes, the house ages, the stories multiply, and the fear deepens. For those who live nearby or dare to visit, the house is not just a dilapidated structure but a portal to a tragic past and a haunted present, where the lines between the real and the supernatural are terrifyingly thin. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like to support us. And more importantly, if you have had a supernatural experience, don't keep it to yourself. Write your story in the comments below. Share your encounter with the unexplainable, fuel the collective curiosity, and who knows, maybe together we can unveil these mysteries that hover like fog between the world of the living and the dead. Remember, the unknown is always just a story away. And now, as the night falls, who knows what shadows might emerge from the darkness to whisper yet another true ghost story.